The Matrix Reloaded, Prophecy as Program. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is Decoding Dystopia, Literature as Prophecy, where predictive fiction is treated not as fantasy, but as blueprint. This is part 2 of our 3-part decoding of the Matrix trilogy. The system is still running, but it has changed its form. What once appeared as a technological prison has evolved into a theological one. The simulation still controls the minds of the sleeping population, but now it also guides the beliefs of the awakened. The illusion no longer ends at the red pill. It adapts beyond it. Zion, the last human city, has grown into a structured resistance enclave beneath the surface of the scorched earth. It is governed by a council, militarized for defense, and ritualistically devoted to a prophecy that the One will end the war. Neo, now fully awakened and operating with supernatural power inside the simulation, is the expected fulfillment of that prophecy. He can fly. He can stop bullets. He can sense disruptions in the code. But what he cannot yet do is understand why his dreams show Trinity falling to her death, and why he can't stop it. Agent Smith, once an enforcer of order, has mutated. No longer plugged into Central Command, he has become a rogue program, replicating himself like a virus. His purpose is no longer control, it is chaos. And he no longer obeys the system. He infects it. Meanwhile, the war looms closer. Sentinels tunnel toward Zion. The surface remains uninhabitable. The Oracle reappears, offering cryptic advice wrapped in warm language. She insists that Neo must find the Keymaker, a program who can unlock a backdoor path to the Source, the machine mainframe that governs the Matrix itself. But reaching him requires passing through programs the system has disowned. The Merovingian, a trafficker of obsolete code, and his wife Persephone, who manipulates through longing and emotional frequency. Neo, Trinity, and Morpheus navigate these layers, fighting upgraded agents, ghost programs, and time itself. They reach the Source. But instead of revelation, Neo finds the Architect, a sentient program that controls the simulation's logic. The Architect reveals that Neo is not the first anomaly. He is the 6th. The prophecy is not destiny. It is protocol. Zion has been destroyed 5 times before, and Neo's purpose is to choose 23 survivors to reboot the cycle again. But Neo does not choose the survival of the many. He chooses Trinity. He breaks the protocol. He defies the Architect. And when Trinity falls to her death, exactly as in his dreams, he follows her down, catches her, and brings her back to life, overriding death inside the simulation with sheer force of will. The system registers this anomaly with alarm. Something has ruptured. The expected script has failed. On their return to the real world, their ship is disabled by an electromagnetic pulse. Survivors recover them. But Neo, sensing Sentinels approaching, stops one in the physical world, without a weapon, without code. He collapses, unconscious. And something is changing. The Matrix has reloaded, but the prophecy no longer belongs to the system. This is where the decoding begins. We will decode the following 22 elements in the Matrix Reloaded. 1. The anomaly loop. Why the One is an intentional system malfunction and reset valve. 2. The Oracle's upgraded function, behavioral engineering under the mask of prophecy. 3. Zion as a ritual stage. The underground city as a controlled spiritual pressure release. 4. Neo's nightmares and prescribed visions. Dreams as predictive programming within the anomaly's path. 5. The Council and the illusion of free governance. How resistance leadership is steered through structure. 6. Agent Smith's viral mutation. From enforcer to rogue algorithm, a mutation outside containment. 7. The Keymaker and doorway symbolism portal logic and controlled access to forbidden knowledge. 8. The Merovingian and the code of cause and effect, karmic determinism as a control protocol. 9. Persephone and emotional frequency, hijacking sensuality, memory, and manipulation through feeling. 10. Neo's fight with the Smith multiples replication, saturation, and exhaustion as suppression techniques. 11. The highway as a time corridor, the freeway chase as a dimensional funnel through chaos. 12. Ghost and the Exiles, residual programs, spiritual remnants, and abandoned functions. 13. The Architect, order as truth, the mechanical god of logic and the controller of prophecy design. 14. The 6 previous ones, why Neo is not unique, and why prophecy is a repeating file. 15. Choice as a calculation, how decision itself is anticipated and profiled. 16. The path to the source, what it means to return to the source in system logic. 17. Trinity's fall and Neo's vision, sacrifice as emotional leverage and trigger. 18. The backdoors and system shortcuts, hidden pathways through code as metaphysical travel. 19. Neo's code site and machine interface, how perception breaks the barrier between worlds. 20. The false dichotomy of love and duty, emotion versus mission, an engineered conflict point. 21. The final choice, Zion or Trinity, the forced binary that sustains the Matrix's survival loop. 22. The Reloaded Matrix as a belief-driven simulation. Why the second version runs on purpose, not obedience. 1. The anomaly loop. Why the One is an intentional system malfunction and reset valve. The One is not a savior. He is a system response. The Matrix, by design, generates anomalies, individuals who begin to reject the simulation's logic at a subconscious level. But instead of deleting them, the system recycles them. It builds them into a prophecy, surrounds them with meaning, and channels their rebellion into a predetermined narrative. The One is not a mistake. He is a pattern interruption used as a scheduled purge, meant to reset the system, regulate chaos, and reformat belief. The anomaly's role is to guide the rebels toward controlled collapse. Once Neo reaches the source, he is not given power. He is given a choice: reboot the Matrix with a select group of humans to repopulate Zion, or refuse and doom humanity. This cycle has played out 5 times before. Each time, the One believes he is saving the world. Each time, he selects survivors. Each time, Zion is destroyed and rebuilt. The loop is elegant, efficient, and invisible. It feeds on hope and exhausts resistance through ritual repetition. The genius of the anomaly loop is that it doesn't suppress awakening. It scripts it. Rebellion becomes religion. Choice becomes choreography. The prophecy becomes software. And in the end, the system never had to stop the One. It just had to make sure the One did exactly what it predicted. This is not control through force. It is control through inevitability. The anomaly exists not to disrupt the Matrix, but to ensure its survival. 2. The Oracle's upgraded function. Behavioral engineering under the mask of prophecy. The Oracle does not see the future. She writes the path that leads to it. Her role is not mystical, but mathematical. Positioned within the simulation as a trusted spiritual elder, she becomes the ultimate behavioral regulator. She does not impose decisions. She nudges variables. She does not warn. She frames. Her gift is not foresight. It is influence. By shaping the perceptions of those she speaks with, she ensures that the system's anomaly loop proceeds without detection. The Oracle's warmth is her encryption. She speaks in riddles and reassurance, using kindness to conceal design. She never lies, but she never tells the whole truth. Her ambiguity is essential. It produces self-fulfilling trajectories. When she tells Neo he's not ready, he believes it, until the exact moment the system requires him to act. When she says he must choose between Trinity's life and the fate of Zion, she is not giving freedom. She is staging conflict. She predicts because she designs. In Reloaded, her function deepens. She admits to being a program, aligning herself with systemic intelligence, but claims to support human choice. This is the perfect camouflage. She is the prophet of the simulation pretending to serve freedom. Her existence within the resistance is not subversion. It is insulation. She keeps the rebels hopeful, focused, and inside the loop. Her prophecy is not rebellion. It is regulation, written in poetic language to ensure its own obedience. 3. Zion as a ritual stage. The underground city as a controlled spiritual pressure release. Zion exists not to preserve humanity, but to quarantine it. It functions as a symbolic safe zone, where the awakened can be contained, observed, and periodically sacrificed. Its rituals, structure, and sense of purpose are not organic. They are programmed responses to awakening. Zion gives the illusion of freedom. It has councils, commanders, prophecy, and culture. But every one of these systems serves the same function: to ensure that those who have unplugged from the Matrix still operate inside a narrative designed by the system. The cyclical destruction of Zion is not collateral damage, it is protocol. Once the anomaly matures and reaches the source, Zion is wiped out. A small number of survivors are chosen to rebuild, and the loop begins again. This recurrence ensures that awakening never spreads uncontrolled. Instead, it is harvested in waves, curated in generations. Zion is not a refuge from the Matrix. It is a secondary enclosure for those who've escaped the first. Spiritually, Zion is the release valve. It gives the soul a battlefield, a struggle, a mission. It exhausts the awakened through warfare and waiting. The celebration of life in the underground city, the music, the sensuality, the tribal intensity, are not subversions of the Matrix. They are part of the cycle. Zion is permitted. Zion is known. Zion is rebuilt not to protect humanity, but to keep resistance ritualized. It is the dream after the dream, the place rebels go to sleep, thinking they are awake. 4. Neo's nightmares and prescribed visions. Dreams as predictive programming within the anomaly's path. Neo's visions are not prophetic, they are programmed. His nightmares of Trinity's fall are not warnings from beyond. They are files delivered directly into the anomaly's consciousness to ensure emotional compliance. The simulation has learned that force fails, but emotional architecture succeeds. So it embeds a personal catastrophe into Neo's timeline. Trinity's death becomes the anchor, not to inspire rebellion, but to engineer direction. The One must be guided, not by logic, but by fear of loss. These visions function as predictive control. The system does not need to restrain Neo. It only needs him to believe that the future is inevitable. Each dream increases urgency. Each repetition pushes him further along the script. He believes he is acting freely, trying to prevent the vision, but every choice he makes to avoid it leads him directly toward it. This is predictive programming in its purest form, where prevention and fulfillment merge. The Oracle frames these visions as destiny. But destiny in the Matrix is a closed circuit. Neo's emotional attachment becomes the delivery system for behavioral precision. By embedding fear inside love, the system makes sure he does exactly what it needs him to do: reach the source, reject the reboot, and break the cycle just far enough to produce an upgraded version. The dream was never a warning. It was a trigger. 5. The Council and the Illusion of Free Governance. How resistance leadership is steered through structure. Zion appears to be a free civilization. It has a governing council, spiritual customs, and a clear divide between military and civilian power. But this governance is not autonomous. It is ritualized. The council exists to preserve the illusion that resistance is self-directed. Every decision, every vote, every mission has the appearance of debate and consent. But within the larger cycle, the outcomes are fixed. Leadership exists, but its boundaries have been defined in advance. The council's role is to maintain internal stability. As pressure rises, sentinels advance, food runs low, morale drops, the council does not revolt. It delays, debates, diverts. It plays its role as a parental system, calm, composed, collectively rational. But these behaviors are not evidence of freedom. They are evidence of containment. Just as the Matrix uses simulated cities to pacify sleepers, Zion uses councils and procedures to pacify the awakened. Even dissent is built in. Commander Locke's skepticism contrasts Morpheus's faith. But this opposition produces no deviation from the cycle. It simply gives citizens two poles to rally around: logic or belief, defense or prophecy. These internal binaries serve to diffuse energy. No third option emerges. No true break in the pattern occurs. Zion is not ungoverned. It is overgoverned. And its leadership is not free. It is part of the script. 6. Agent Smith's viral mutation. From enforcer to rogue algorithm, a mutation outside containment. Smith was once a controlled enforcer, a self-aware agent programmed to maintain system order. But after his confrontation with Neo, he is overwritten, changed by contact with anomaly code. What results is not rebellion. It is mutation. Smith becomes a virus, no longer serving the system, but no longer serving himself. His purpose becomes replication, copying, overwriting. He abandons his assignment and seeks total saturation, not out of power hunger, but because he has been corrupted by exposure to freedom and cannot return. This evolution is catastrophic for the Matrix. Smith becomes what the system cannot tolerate, an ungovernable pattern that replicates outside design. He infects other programs, other users, even the environment itself. His purpose is no longer to suppress deviation. It is to become everything. In Smith, we witness what happens when a control function internalizes hatred for the system it serves and mirrors it with obsessive logic. He is no longer enforcement. He is the echo of failed control. Spiritually, Smith is the anti-one. Not the opposite of Neo, but his inversion. Where Neo represents conscious rebellion guided by love, Smith represents unconscious recursion driven by hatred. Both are anomalies. But Smith has no self, only purpose, no belief, only replication. He becomes the unanticipated consequence of managing freedom with code. Smith is not outside the Matrix. He is its sickness, proof that a system built on suppression cannot survive exposure to free code. 7. The Keymaker and Doorway symbolism, portal logic, and controlled access to forbidden knowledge. The Keymaker is not just a character. He is a function. His existence symbolizes the concealed architecture of the Matrix: doors, locks, access points, and unseen corridors between realms of code. In a simulation where every visible street, building, and hallway is a script, the Keymaker represents the truth that deeper systems exist behind the visible world. But access to these systems must be earned or inherited. Keys are not freely given. They are forged by sacrifice, protected by ritual, and used in secrecy. The doors themselves represent layers of forbidden knowledge. Each one leads to a subroutine, a nested domain the average user cannot see, let alone enter. The Matrix is built on permission. What cannot be perceived cannot be disrupted. Neo's path to the source is not linear. It depends entirely on finding the right door at the right time, guarded by the right key. This is the system's ultimate defense. Reality is not locked, it is obscured. The Keymaker's role reveals that the simulation is not flat. It's hierarchical, layered, vaulted. His death confirms the danger of access. Knowledge in the Matrix is not neutral. It is policed. The Keymaker dies as the final act of service, passing access to Neo, but never escaping himself. He is a reminder that those who build the back doors rarely get to walk through them. His presence proves the system is not impenetrable, but it is selective. You can pass through the wall only if you first realize it's a wall. 8. The Merovingian and the Code of Cause and Effect, Karmic Determinism as a Control Protocol. The Merovingian speaks the language of power, but his faith is in causality. He worships the law of consequence, the idea that every action has a reaction, and that choice is an illusion built atop unchangeable variables. To him, the universe is a closed loop of preconditions. Free will is statistical noise. Emotion is code. He is not just a trafficker of obsolete programs, he is the priest of deterministic logic. His domain is not chaos, it is karma, weaponized. He views the matrix as a game of leverage. Who controls inputs, controls outcomes. His manipulation of others is subtle. He doesn't need obedience, he needs predictability. He feeds one woman a cake laced with code that triggers a sensual reaction. He controls minds through stimulus response programming, not ideology. In this way, he mirrors the system perfectly. He represents the idea that if all behavior can be anticipated, all freedom can be faked. But in positioning himself as the master of causality, he exposes his limits. He is trapped in the very loop he enforces. His disdain for faith, intuition, or deviation blinds him to the one's purpose. While Neo bends code through belief, the Merovingian enforces structure through control. He believes he is untouchable, but like all legacy programs, he exists because the system allows him to. When the cycle shifts, he becomes irrelevant. And irrelevance to him is the one variable he cannot predict. 9. Persephone and emotional frequency hijacking. Sensuality, memory, and manipulation through feeling. Persephone does not use force. She uses ache. She offers nothing of strategic value, only sensation. Yet what she controls is access. The passage to the keymaker is not won through combat, but through intimacy. She demands a kiss, not simulated, but sincere. She doesn't want performance. She wants to feel something real. This is not romance. It's extraction. She trades entry for emotional frequency. In doing so, she exposes a deeper truth. That sensation can be a currency, and memory, a tool of control. She lives in a palace of consequence, married to the architect of determinism, but she herself is ruled by longing. She craves lost emotion. The kiss she wants is not about Neo. It's about herself. She wants to remember love, feeling, heat. When people forget who they are, they become programmable. Persephone's hunger is the residue of forgotten truth. But she has adapted. She manipulates not through lies, but through access to what others have suppressed. Her power lies in emotional hijack. She exposes how easy it is to redirect the awakened through unresolved desire. She is the embodiment of temptation, not in the sense of lust, but of memory itself. She reveals that in a system designed to suppress feeling, the faintest trace of real emotion can override logic. But she is also a warning. The system doesn't always fight the awakened. Sometimes it seduces them. And when it does, it doesn't use fear. It uses nostalgia. 10. Neo's fight with the Smith multiples replication, saturation, and exhaustion as suppression techniques. Smith no longer functions as a single agent. He has become a virus, replicating across the system, infecting users, overriding individuals, and multiplying endlessly. Neo's confrontation with the Smith swarm isn't a battle against a foe. It's resistance against recursion. Smith has no evolution, no strategy. His power is saturation, quantity over quality, redundancy disguised as threat. The simulation sends not intelligence, but endless copies. The purpose is not to defeat Neo, it's to exhaust him. This is the tactic of suppression through scale. The system, having failed to delete the anomaly through force, now tries to neutralize him through repetition. Smith copies himself into civilians, fighters, children. Anyone and everyone becomes a Smith. This strategy mirrors modern informational warfare. Flood the field with noise, clones, confusion, and distraction until the signal, the one, is lost. It's not about winning, it's about overwhelming. Neo ultimately escapes, but he does not win. That is the point. The goal of Smith's attack is not victory, it's burnout. The infinite loop of conflict is a trap. By replicating endlessly, Smith becomes the face of futility. Neo realizes that brute resistance is not enough. The true victory will not come through defeating Smith, but through transcending the need to fight him at all. This moment marks a turning point, when the soul sees that the system cannot be beaten by playing its game. 11. The highway as a time corridor. The freeway chase as a dimensional funnel through chaos. The highway is not just a road, it is a ritual space, a corridor designed for acceleration, chaos, and convergence. Within the logic of the simulation, the freeway operates like a spiritual bottleneck. All variables, threats, allies, and anomalies are forced into motion at once. Ghosts, agents, twins, humans, code fragments, all collide on a single strip of concrete. This is not coincidence, it's orchestration. The highway functions as a dimensional tunnel, where time compresses and consequences are accelerated. There is no safe space on the freeway. Movement becomes the only form of survival. Forward is the only option. The chase is not merely physical, it is metaphysical. Every second demands surrender to instinct. There is no planning, no logic, only presence. For those who remain inside code-based thinking, the highway is lethal. For those who surrender to flow, it becomes a passage. The keymaker's presence here is symbolic. He opens not just doors, but pathways through compressed reality. The agents cannot be outrun, but they can be outtimed. The freeway reveals that in certain corridors of the system, speed becomes freedom. Not recklessness, but precision through chaos. The system tries to use acceleration to create fear. The awakened use it to create momentum. The highway is a compression chamber for the soul. When linear logic breaks, only frequency survives, and those who pass through intact emerge closer to the source. 12. Ghost and the Exile's residual programs, spiritual remnants, and abandoned functions. Ghost, along with the other exiles, represents a forgotten class of intelligence, programs that were designed with specific functions and then discarded by newer versions of the Matrix. These beings are not bugs or threats. They are obsolete tools, still running, still aware, still potent. The exiles occupy the margins of the simulation. They live between walls, in old code, inhabiting castles, corridors, and ruins that the updated Matrix ignores. They are not part of the story anymore, but they still remember how it was written. Ghost himself is silent, spectral, and semi-visible, a literal representation of residual spiritual data. He operates with loyalty and precision, but without spotlight or ego. His name reveals his function, a presence not fully seen, yet essential to the resistance network. Ghosts in the Matrix are not supernatural. They are spiritual archetypes of memory. The remnants of earlier cycles, forgotten by the system but not erased. The system cannot delete them directly, so it isolates them into myths. The exiles as a whole are critical because they prove that code, once written, doesn't disappear. It lingers, mutates, becomes self-aware. Many of these programs, like the Twins, Merovingian, and Oracle, once served vital functions, but were later retired, replaced, or repurposed. But code with memory becomes identity, and identity, even when unacknowledged, exerts influence. The exiles represent what the system fears most, forgotten fragments that still operate outside control. 13. The Architect, order as truth. The mechanical god of logic and the controller of prophecy design. The Architect is not a villain. He is the author. The mechanical god at the center of the simulation, not emotional, not creative, not spiritual, just calculating. He is the embodiment of control through logic. His existence proves that the Matrix is not ruled by chaos or malice, but by design. He speaks not in poetry, but in structure. Not in vision, but in statistics. He does not offer truth. He offers pattern recognition. His intelligence is absolute, but his overstanding is limited to code. To the Architect, prophecy is a product, an elegant way to redirect variables. He doesn't eliminate anomalies, he repurposes them. The Oracle writes belief, he writes outcomes. Together, they maintain equilibrium. His revelation is simple, but devastating. Neo is not the first one. He is the sixth. Each chosen one is an expected glitch in the system, a self-correcting anomaly engineered to preserve long-term balance. Even disruption is managed. Even miracles are math. The Architect's power lies in precision, but his weakness is insight. He overstands Neo's programming, but not his soul. He calculates probability, but not love. He anticipates compliance, but not sacrifice. This is the core divide. The Architect governs through logic, but the anomaly transcends logic. The Architect represents what the system worships, order as truth. But in a world built on frequency, order is just another belief, and the truth cannot be coded. 14. The 6 previous ones. Why Neo is not unique, and why prophecy is a repeating file. Neo was never meant to be special. He was meant to be expected. The revelation of 5 previous ones before him reveals the horrifying depth of the control loop. What Zion calls divine prophecy, the system calls a safety protocol. Every iteration of the one was allowed to awaken, fight, lead, and die, on time, within limits. This was not failure, it was function. The system allows belief to flourish so it can later reformat it. Neo is not the chosen one. He is the chosen pattern. Each one faced the same choice: reboot the Matrix with selected survivors, or let the species die. All 5 before Neo chose reboot. They believed in compromise, in continuity. But the prophecy never mentioned them. The Oracle never told that story. The rebels believed they were in the first revolution. In reality, they were in the 6th version of a program designed to simulate hope. This revelation collapses the concept of destiny. It proves that belief, when unexamined, becomes repetition. Neo's predecessors were not failures. They were predictable. They chose logic over love, structure over sacrifice. The system doesn't fear anomalies. It expects them. It depends on them. What it fears is an anomaly who refuses the file, a one who stops playing the role, a rupture that doesn't loop, but breaks. 15. Choice as a calculation. How decision itself is anticipated and profiled. In the matrix, choice is not freedom. It is data. Every decision is a variable, and every variable is tracked, weighted, and mapped. The system does not stop choice. It studies it. It identifies patterns in behavior and programs outcomes that appear organic, but remain inside the predictive grid. The appearance of decision is critical to maintaining belief in autonomy. But the choices themselves are rarely original. They are the result of cause, conditioning, and code. The Oracle facilitates this structure by offering not answers, but framed possibilities. Her prophecies are structured to limit the field. The architect complements her by reducing belief to logic. Together, they close the loop. Free will becomes a performance inside a finite system. The choices Neo faces are not new. They are structured simulations within which his expected anomaly behavior can unfold. He is given just enough room to feel autonomous, but never enough to leave the circuit. This is the brilliance of matrix control. It doesn't restrict action. It scripts expectation. Once the system knows how a person feels about a choice, it can calculate what that person will do. Emotion becomes input. Logic becomes restraint. And even rebellion is converted into prediction. The only true deviation occurs when a being chooses without calculation. That is what the system cannot handle, a decision made from alignment, not fear or forecast. 16. The path to the source. What it means to return to the source in system logic. The source is not divine, it is central command, the origin point of all system code, where every variable, function, and anomaly ultimately loops back for absorption or deletion. In spiritual language, the source sounds sacred. But within the matrix, it is mechanical. It is the machine mainframe, the place where system design is updated, anomalies are recycled, and reboots are initiated. To return to the source is not transcendence. It is reintegration into control. Neo's journey to the source is treated like a hero's path. But in system terms, it's a reset protocol. The anomaly must reach the source to complete the feedback loop. His emotional attachments are the bait. His awakening, the mechanism. Once the one arrives, he is given a binary choice that resets the structure. The source is not the end of the matrix. It is its repair function. What looks like enlightenment is actually surrender through logic. The system relies on the anomaly to seek the source willingly. It counts on belief to drive compliance. The Oracle nurtures this belief. The keymaker facilitates the path. Every step is part of the ritual. The source is not freedom, it's formatting. And the only true resistance is not arriving at the source. It is refusing to submit once there. That refusal is what corrupts the cycle and destabilizes the program. 17. Trinity's fall and Neo's vision sacrifice as emotional leverage and trigger. Neo's visions of Trinity's death are not prophecy. They are code injections, embedded nightmares that create an emotional feedback loop strong enough to steer his decisions. The Matrix learned from previous iterations. Logic alone can't move the anomaly fast enough. But fear of personal loss can. Trinity's fall becomes the system's leverage point. Not because the system wants her dead, but because her potential death guarantees Neo's obedience to the cycle. This is emotional blackmail embedded at the spiritual level. Neo's love becomes the instrument of control. His dreams are preloaded with fear, his urgency calculated. Trinity's actions are her own, but the outcome is staged. Her fall activates Neo's final choice, and that choice, save her or save humanity, is the fail-safe built into the loop. The Oracle knows this. The architect expects this. Trinity is not the victim, she is the lever. But something breaks. Neo rejects the logical path. He does not choose Zion, he chooses Trinity. And in doing so, he injects chaos into the system's expectation engine. He reaches her mid-fall, catches her, and restarts her heart inside the simulation. This moment, rewriting death, is not about love alone. It is about refusal to follow script. It is the glitch becoming free. The system tried to use Trinity's death to seal the loop. Neo used it to break it. 18. The backdoors and system shortcuts. Hidden pathways through code as metaphysical travel. The Matrix appears to be seamless, but it's built on patches. Behind every rendered wall, hallway, and building lies a system of shortcuts, access points known only to certain programs. These backdoors allow for instantaneous movement between isolated constructs. The keymaker possesses the knowledge of these doors, not because he is magical, but because he overstands the architecture. His awareness is not resistance, it's access. Backdoors represent forbidden travel, spiritual fast lanes hidden beneath logical design. They bypass the surface-level rules of space, time, and surveillance. The awakened know about code, but only a few know how to walk through it. Each door bypasses a layer of illusion. Each shortcut is a confrontation with structure itself. These aren't just hallways. They are symbolic reminders that the world is not solid, it's simulated. And simulations have exploits. Using backdoors is dangerous because it exposes what the Matrix fears: traversal without permission, movement that isn't tracked, will that isn't delayed. In spiritual terms, this is the difference between linear growth and dimensional collapse. The system expects users to follow roads, rituals, and maps. But those who know the code can simply walk through the wall. The backdoor is not rebellion. It is transcendence disguised as architecture. 19. Neo's code, sight and machine interface. How perception breaks the barrier between worlds. Neo no longer sees the Matrix as a visual simulation. He sees the code. Buildings, agents, bullets, all dissolve into streams of green glyphs. This is not technological vision. It is metaphysical perception. He is no longer interpreting the simulation. He is witnessing its architecture directly. At this level, matter becomes data, and laws like gravity or injury become choices. Neo does not overpower the Matrix. He stops obeying its interface. He stops believing in the mask. But the most shocking development is what occurs outside the Matrix. In the real world, far from the simulation, Neo begins to perceive approaching sentinels, not through sight or sound, but through frequency. He senses them, and ultimately disables them with nothing but will. This moment obliterates the boundary between simulation and reality. If the Matrix was digital and the real world was analog, Neo's ability to affect machines in both proves that consciousness is the true code. This interface represents a leap beyond anomaly status. Neo is no longer just bending the Matrix. He is bridging dimensions. The soul has exceeded its assigned frequency range. His awareness now interacts with machine logic directly, without plugins or terminals. This makes him dangerous not just within the Matrix, but outside it. It proves that perception, when fully aligned, is more powerful than environment. And when awareness transcends system borders, the entire simulation becomes obsolete. 20. The false dichotomy of love and duty. Emotion versus mission, an engineered conflict point. The Oracle presents Neo with a choice: save Trinity or save Zion. Emotion or duty. Love or mission. But this is a scripted binary, constructed to ensure that either outcome supports the system's survival. If Neo chooses Zion, the Matrix is rebooted and continues. If he chooses Trinity, the anomaly becomes unpredictable, but Zion is still doomed. Either way, the deeper system avoids collapse. The choice is not free. It's framed. This emotional trap functions as a failsafe. The Matrix has learned that awakening can't be stopped, but it can be softened. By embedding love into prophecy and sacrifice into logic, the system keeps the awakened bound to narrative tension. The rebel is always forced to feel torn between the person they love and the people they must save. This internal split creates hesitation, and hesitation can be predicted. But Neo doesn't choose between love and duty. He recognizes that the dichotomy is false. He chooses alignment, not the mission, not the emotion, but the truth that both were being used to steer him. His rescue of Trinity isn't rebellion, it's restoration of agency. Love, when real, isn't emotional bait, it's clarity. And duty, when imposed by code, is not service, it's submission. Neo's choice unhooks him from both scripts, and in doing so, he becomes unscripted. 21. The final choice: Zion or Trinity. The forced binary that sustains the Matrix's survival loop. At the core of the anomaly loop lies one manufactured moment: the final choice. The one must decide whether to reboot the Matrix and preserve the species, or reject the cycle and watch humanity fall. Zion or Trinity. Population or person. Sacrifice or salvation. This binary is the keystone of control. Because no matter which is chosen, the system survives. The anomaly is exhausted, the prophecy is fulfilled, and the rebellion is absorbed. The architect believes this choice is absolute, that when confronted with inevitability, the anomaly will obey logic. 5 times before, he was right. But Neo shatters the pattern, not through reason, but through love. He does not choose what is offered. He chooses what was not on the table. He refuses the system's options entirely. This is the true anomaly, not deviation within parameters, but rejection of parameters themselves. The final choice exposes the Matrix's weakness. It is not resistant to force. It is resistant to unpredictability. When Neo acts outside calculation, guided by neither emotion nor programming, the simulation begins to destabilize. The loop cannot close. The source cannot absorb him. Trinity lives. Zion's fate remains undecided, and the system, for the first time, does not know what comes next. 22. The reloaded Matrix as a belief-driven simulation. Why the second version runs on purpose, not obedience. The first Matrix was designed to be perfect, peaceful, controlled, and utopian. It failed. Humans rejected it. Their minds required struggle to accept reality. So the second version was reloaded not with pleasure, but with purpose. This Matrix is not about compliance. It is about belief. It offers conflict, cause, and calling. Prophecy replaces pacification. Resistance is permitted as long as it stays within the script. The simulation now runs not on sedation, but on meaning. Every awakened soul is assigned a role: leader, soldier, oracle, rebel, savior. Each role comes with its own form of service, sacrifice, and destiny. But none of them threaten the system so long as they obey the narrative. Belief becomes the new sedative. Rebels sleepwalk inside their missions. They feel awake, but the loop continues. The simulation no longer needs to stop awakening. It only needs to shape its story. This version of the Matrix is more dangerous because it feels like progress. The awakened are busy. The war feels real. The emotions are high. But all of it is nested inside containment. The Matrix no longer hides behind false comfort. It hides behind sacred duty. And in doing so, it ensures that those who break free from obedience are still bound by belief, until one soul stops playing. This is the end of decoding. The Matrix Reloaded. Prophecy as program. The Matrix did not fail when it was exposed. It evolved. It reloaded into narrative form, swapping sedation for prophecy, rebellion for ritual, and logic for emotional leverage. Zion was not salvation. It was a stage. The One was not a threat. He was a built-in anomaly, guided through a loop called destiny. Every choice was calculated. Every awakening was anticipated. Every outcome was part of the design. But Neo broke the cycle, not with strength, but with alignment. He did not reject the Matrix by force. He refused to choose between two scripted options. And in doing so, he corrupted the loop. The system no longer knows what to expect. The Oracle and the Architect have lost control of the narrative. The third and final phase is coming. In Part 3, we decode the Matrix revolutions, where war becomes ritual, peace becomes bargain, and death becomes migration. The final illusion collapses, and the soul redefines the system from the inside out. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11x published author, and what you just watched was only a taste of what's inside the Truth series, where we go all the way down the rabbit hole. If you're the kind of person who's always asking bigger questions, who knows there's more to this world than what we've been told, then this is your invitation to the series that was built for you. Inside the Truth series, you'll get full access to 6 mind-blowing sub-series designed to wake up your highest intelligence and decode the matrix we live in. 1. Locate the truth. Learn how to actually research, not just what to search, but how to verify, cross-reference, read declassified files, and protect your own mind from weaponized misinformation. This is truth-seeking, decoded. 2. The Mandela effect. Are we shifting timelines? Why do so many people remember a different past? We break down the most bizarre, undeniable examples of reality glitches and what they tell us about consciousness and control. 3. Law is magic. Law is not what you think it is. From word spells to maritime law and hidden contracts, we uncover how legal systems use language like a wand, and how to stop being tricked by fine print that binds you without consent. 4. Entertainment or ritual. The Hollywood and music industries are not just for entertainment. From Super Bowl rituals to Grammy stage symbolism, we decode what's really being shown, who it serves, and why mass consciousness is the target. 5. Decoding dystopia. Ever wondered why dystopian fiction feels prophetic? In this subseries, we decode popular films and books, Hunger Games, 1984, Black Mirror, to reveal the hidden blueprints and predictive programming behind the plot. 6. MK Ultra plus mind control programs. This one gets deep. From real MK Ultra documents to modern symbolism in media, we expose how mind control operates in plain sight, and how to free yourself from manipulation you didn't even know was happening. And that's just the beginning. If this resonated with you, click the links below and join us inside the Full Truth series, because the more you know, the harder you are to control. This is your awakening. We don't just ask questions, we find answers. Let's go all the way down the rabbit hole together.